What's up, guys? It's Collin from Built2Wander. I've got a brand new 2022 Jeep Gladiator Rubicon with me out here in Moab, Utah. A good friend of mine hit me up, wanted to build a Jeep. He brought this thing out to Colorado all the way from Ohio. We did a fresh build on it, brought it out to Moab for the Easter Jeep Safari, and we're getting ready to put it through its paces on the trails. We're gonna show you what all we did to this build and how well it works out here. Before we do that, do me a quick favor, like this video, subscribe to the Driving Line channel, and let's get after it. So we're out here with DJ's fresh Gladiator build. This thing is a 2022 Jeep Gladiator Rubicon. It's the Eco Diesel. It was a pretty rad Jeep from the get-go. And fortunately, we got our hands on it when it was bone stock. So we were able to kind of guide DJ through the process. His goals were to have something that he could drive every single day, but that it was capable enough to come out and run some of these tougher trails in places like Moab, Utah, or maybe Slade County back in Kentucky, not far from where DJ lives in Cincinnati, Ohio. In fact, him and I grew up together in Ohio, and in college when I got into Jeeps, I took him out to Slade, Kentucky. We had a really fun time back in the YetiCon. Some of you may remember that Jeep. It was my first four-door Rubicon, and ever since then, he's been talking about building a Jeep. So I'm super stoked to have had the opportunity to put this thing together for him with Matt Thompson down at 3D Off-Road. And obviously, when we were planning the build, we started with tires. So being that this was a daily driver for DJ, I knew that a 37-inch tire was probably the right place to start. You know, we love the Nitto Trail Grappler. We've had a lot of success with that tire over the years. So the 37-inch Nitto Trail Grappler just felt like the right tire for DJ. I knew it would do really well out here in places like Moab, Utah, but still be very comfortable, very quiet on road. You know, it's gonna handle just fine in rain and snow. And so to me, it just felt like a really good all-around tire. Like I said, we've had an amazing experience with the Trail Grappler over the past few years, and that's kind of what we started this build around. We did wrap the 37-inch Trail Grappler around a set of 17-inch KMC Beadlock grenade wheels. They're a nice 3.5-inch offset, so it gives the Gladiator a little bit wider, more aggressive stance, and it also pushes that tire out away from the suspension. So at full cycle, when this thing's fully flexed out, the steering's turned, it's not gonna get into the suspension at all. So everything clears really nicely, and I'm really happy with how well this tire and wheel combo works underneath the Jeep. We also added a set of Apex valves. These things allow to air down this tire really quickly, which we went ahead and did while we were hitting the trails out here. We ran these things about 10 PSI in the front, 8 PSI in the rear. Having a little lower air pressure in these 37-inch Trail Grapplers just gives us more traction on the trail and makes it a little bit more comfortable as well. So bigger tire, we needed to have a little bit more clearance. You know, this thing comes from the factory with 33-inch tires. So we've got a 37-inch tire. We definitely need some room to fit these tires under this build. So the next step was suspension. We turned to RockJock 4x4. They have a really nice 3.5-inch lift, short arm suspension system, and it's got all 8 adjustable control arms. We paired it with their anti-rock sway bars. That combination rides so well. In fact, that's exactly the same way we built the Blaze JT on 40-inch tires from the first round. And we were so impressed with how that Jeep worked. We knew that was the right kit for this Jeep. So we paired RockJock's suspension system with a set of Bilstein 8100 series bypass shocks. Those bypass shocks have both adjustability and compression and rebound, and it really allows you to dial in that ride. And I'm telling you what, on the road, this thing drives like a Cadillac. Off-road, it cycles really well. It's got plenty of flex. Any of those big ledges, it was able to crawl really well over. I think the long wheelbase definitely helps out here in Moab, but I was really, really impressed with how well this thing did. The nice thing about this 3.5-inch lift from RockJock is that it allows us to maintain the factory fenders, so DJ didn't have to worry about any aftermarket fenders, and we have plenty of clearance to fully cycle that tire without getting into the fenders or rubbing into the body at all. So really impressed with how well everything works with the RockJock suspension. And in addition to RockJock short arm suspension. We also added RockJock's correct link steering system. We added a Bilstein steering damper, and RockJock's steering system is definitely a lot stronger than stock. It's got heavier links, it's got 1-ton ball joints. It basically allows the steering to feel like stock when you've got this heavier wheel and tire combo than the stock setup. So with the fundamentals of the build in place, being wheels and tires, suspension, and even those steering upgrades we mentioned, now it was time to turn to functional accessories. So we added a steel front bumper from Hefty Fabworks. It's a nice minimal design. It allows for a much better approach angle, and it also has provisions for winching and lighting. So we added a set of LED Squadron Sport fog lights from Baja Designs. Really nice bright white light for driving at night or even hitting the trail. And we also added a Warn VR Evo 10S winch, synthetic line. It'll allow DJ to perform a nice safe recovery. Gives him more confidence when he's out on the trail. If he gets into a sticky situation, he can perform that recovery for himself or even someone else. So with those accessories dialed, I really think that this build turned out really sharp. It's kind of everything DJ needed and nothing that he didn't. And now we're gonna go ahead and get some feedback from DJ and go hit the trail and see how well this thing does out here in Moab, Utah. All right, so we just rolled into Moab with DJ's fresh Gladiator build. We're gonna air down, we're gonna start with some easier trails, fins and things, Hell's Revenge, and then throughout the week work into some tougher trails, you know, as DJ gets more comfortable in the build. Before we get started, what are you thinking? What are you excited for? What are you nervous for? You know, what are you looking forward to throughout the week out here for Easter Jeep Safari?
Well, I gotta be honest, Collin. I'm pretty nervous right now, all right? I've never Jeeped. I went with you one time, maybe 10 years ago. I'm out here in Moab, Utah, one of the supreme places for off-roading. Now you're putting me, you know, putting this Gladiator to the test. So a little nervous, but I feel confident with the build. I was amazed by how it came out. And you give me all kinds of confidence on what it's gonna be able to do, so.
I know Matt Thompson and his crew down in 3D Off-Road do an amazing job putting together these builds for us, and the goal is to go out, you know, get you comfortable in the rig, show you kind of the limits of your new Gladiator build and how well it can do in some of those more technical scenarios, and then also, you know, key you in on some of the different functionalities so that, you know, you can have the confidence to go out, hit some of these tougher trails.
I am pumped about what we're about to do, and all my friends, family, whatever it is, are gonna be jealous about the things that we're doing this week.
That's absolutely right, man. Let's go have some fun.
Let's do it.
Yeah, you got it from there. Start cutting it back a little bit. Yep. Go for it. So tell me a little bit about your experience now that, you know, we've completed the build for you. We brought you out to Moab. We hit the trails for a few days.
Absolutely. So we've been talking about doing this for 10 years. And I finally pulled the trigger buying a Jeep end of last year. My very first call was calling Collin and saying, hey, I got a Jeep. Let's fix it up. Do whatever you need to do. And let's meet out in Utah. So here we are. I had no idea what he was going to do. I had no idea what he was going to put on it. I just knew he was going to do it right. So here we are. We put it through the test. It did all kinds of awesome stuff. I was scared on my very first trail, but this thing went through all its paces, hit every single rock. I had no issues along the way, and it was a killer week. And I'm so glad that I chose Collin, one of my good buddies, to do this, but also so glad that I was able to come here to Utah and have this experience with everyone here.
Absolutely. So I will say one of my favorite things about Built2Wander is just getting the chance to share my passion with friends and family. You know, last year we came out here to Moab for Easter Jeep Safari, did a pretty special build for my dad, and it was awesome to follow that up this year with a special build for my good friend DJ. And yeah, I second that. I know we had a great time. You know, we started out the trip kind of easy. We went through fins and things. We went and did Hell's Revenge, got you warmed up a little bit, and then we started hitting tougher trails. We went and did Steel Bender, Moab Rim, and I could tell that you were getting the hang of it really quickly, but I felt like, you know, every new obstacle we hit and every little tougher trail we found ourselves on, that you just continue to get more comfortable and realize how capable this thing really is.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was as capable as anything. We went on Steel Bender through some of the toughest routes there, and although some people were struggling through it, the Gladiator just went right down like butter, and it was as simple as it could be. So
apart from spending the last few days on the trail, I mean, we built this thing obviously to be capable of tackling some of those tougher trails out here in Moab, but this is also your daily driver. So how did it drive just 6 hours down the highway from Denver to Moab?
That was one of the points of the build, is that this was going to be my daily, that I'm going to be driving, 90-95% on the road. But when I want to, if I want to go off-roading out here in Utah, down in Kentucky, whatever it might be, I wanted to also do that, and it did exactly that. Now we're getting ready to take it back 25 hours back to Ohio, so it's going to be putting through the test. But most importantly, I can do anything and everything with this Jeep, from being out here in Utah to going to Denver to being in Ohio, running on the highway. So that's exactly what I want, and I got exactly what I needed. So awesome.
Yeah, man, that's what it's all about. So I really appreciate you bringing it out to Colorado, doing this trip with us. We had an epic time, and I hope you guys enjoy how the build turned out, and look forward to your feedback on what you saw with it out here on the trails in Moab, Utah. Guys, thanks for following along, checking out DJ's fresh Gladiator build. 3D off-road knocked it out of the park as always, and we're just so stoked to have been a part of this. We had a blast out here in Moab over the last few days, and I'm really impressed with how well this thing does. I really think this is the ideal build on a Jeep Gladiator Rubicon for 90% of the folks out there. We had a hard time finding any limitations with this thing out here in Moab, Utah for Easter Jeep Safari, and just so stoked with how well it came together. So do me a favor, drop us a comment below. Let us know what your thoughts are on the build. Let us know if you have any questions about any of the components we chose, any of the trails we hit, and just the overall experience that we had out here during Easter Jeep Safari. And as always, hit the like button if you did, and subscribe if you haven't. Until next time, wander on.
Thanks for watching Driving Line. If you guys like this video, consider subscribing to our channel so you'll never miss any of the content we create here. Whether you're into trucks, Jeeps, imports, domestic vehicles, or anything in between, we are here to fuel your passion. So hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you guys next time.